imagine for a second that you had a direct line to some kind of divine guide, a chance to get a step-by-step manual on how to live a meaningful life. Well, thousands of years ago, a man named Uddhava got exactly that. So today, we're going to break down the core of his incredible conversation with his friend and guide, Krishna. We're going to uncover an ancient blueprint for finding peace that feels more relevant now than ever. All right, let's get into it.
So it all kicks off right here with this incredibly raw and, honestly, super relatable plea for help. This isn't some high-minded philosophical debate. Uddhava is speaking for all of us. He feels bitten by the serpent of time, like he's stuck in a pit, totally desperate for even the tiniest bit of relief. He's asking for a way out. It's a cry for help that just echoes through history, right?
And you've got to understand, Uddhava is describing a state of really deep suffering. The text calls it the threefold miseries of life. You know, the pains that come from our own bodies and minds, the ones that come from other people or animals, and the ones that come from nature, things we just can't control. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. This is the fundamental human problem that Krishna is about to tackle.
But Krishna's response isn't what you might expect. He doesn't just pat him on the back and say, there, it'll be okay. No. He starts with a diagnosis. He says the real root of our suffering isn't the world itself, but our complete misunderstanding of what it is. He introduces this huge concept, Maya, which basically means illusion. Krishna's point is that we suffer because we're constantly mistaking this temporary, always changing world for the real deal, for the ultimate, eternal reality. It's like we're chasing shadows, believing they're solid, and then we're shocked and heartbroken when they vanish. And this right here is the heart of the illusion. We think we are our bodies. We get so attached to them. So of course, when our bodies go through birth, sickness, getting old, and eventually death, we suffer like crazy. But Krishna's point is totally radical. Those things happen to the body, not to your true essence, the eternal, unchanging you. We're basically identifying with the wrong thing. Okay, so if the diagnosis is that we've got a case of mistaken identity, what's the cure? Well, Krishna offers a two-part prescription. Think of them as two different paths that actually lead to the exact same place, seeing reality clearly and breaking free from suffering. So on one hand, you have jnana. This is the path of knowledge, the path of the intellect. It's all about using your mind to cut through the noise, to figure out what's permanent and what's temporary, what's real and what's just illusion. It's about knowing your way to freedom. And on the other hand, you've got bhakti. This is the path of the heart. This is all about channeling your emotions, your love, your energy, and directing it all toward a higher purpose through selfless acts and worship. And bhakti isn't just some vague, fuzzy feeling. Oh no. Krishna lays out super practical steps. It starts with faith, with constantly remembering that higher purpose. Then it moves to seeing the divine in everyone and serving them. After that, it's about offering up everything you do, your work, your words, your thoughts, to that purpose. And the final step, letting go of your personal attachment to the results, like getting rich or famous. It's a total rewiring of your life. And this is where the whole conversation just gets so incredibly relatable. Uddhava is basically like, okay, Krishna, this is great stuff, but what does it actually look like on a day-to-day basis? Get specific. And what comes next is this amazing, ultimate FAQ for living a good life. He just starts asking Krishna to define everything. What is true happiness? What is real suffering? Who is actually wise and who's a fool? Who's truly rich and who's truly poor? He wants a clear, no-nonsense guide for life's biggest questions. And Krishna's answer on happiness is a total game changer. He says, real happiness isn't that fleeting pleasure you get from, eating a good meal or buying a new gadget. True, lasting happiness is that steady, stable state you get to when you rise above the whole roller coaster of pleasure and pain. So if that's what happiness is, what's suffering? Well, here's the twist. It's not the pain itself. According to Krishna, the real suffering is the constant wanting, the craving for those temporary pleasures. It's that addiction to the next high that keeps us trapped in a miserable cycle. So who actually gets it? The sage, the wise person, is just someone who understands what keeps us trapped and what sets us free. And the fool? It has absolutely nothing to do with your IQ. A fool is anyone, no matter how smart, who still believes that they are just their temporary body and mind. It is all about perspective. Krishna just keeps flipping our most basic ideas on their head. Who is truly wealthy? It's not the person with the most stuff. It's the one who is rich in virtues. And who's truly poor? Not the person with an empty wallet, but the one who is just never, ever satisfied, no matter what they have. And his redefinitions just keep getting more and more profound. What's the greatest strength? Not how much you can bench press, but controlling your own breath. The greatest act of charity you can perform? Letting go of the urge to punish people. And the ultimate act of heroism? It's not about conquering armies. It's about conquering your own inner stuff. So after answering all these practical questions, Krishna delivers his final, most advanced teaching. This is the culmination of everything, and it really asks us to take a huge leap in how we see the world. And here it is, the final mic drop. Krishna says that the very act of labeling things as good and bad is part of the illusion. It's what keeps us trapped. The ultimate goal, the true virtue, isn't to collect a bunch of good points and avoid the bad ones, but to transcend that whole system and see the single reality that's beyond both. And so this ancient guide leaves us with this huge, provocative question to think about. It challenges us to look past our simple judgments, our attachments. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, true freedom and a meaningful life aren't about winning the game of good versus evil, but in realizing we don't have to play it at all.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack some really complex source material and, well, pull out the core knowledge for you. We turn ancient philosophy into something you can actually use. Today, we're diving into something pretty huge. It's a section from a foundational Vedic text, Canto 11, Chapter 19. Think of it as this incredibly deep spiritual masterclass.
It really is. And it's not just theory. It's framed as a direct teaching, from the Supreme Lord straight to Uddhava. An ultimate guide.
Right, not just data collection. It's like getting the handbook for existence itself.
Exactly. And it's a dialogue people really seek out in this tradition because it promises, well, maybe not a shortcut, but a synthesis. Paramam Giham, the supreme secret.
A secret that blends wisdom, devotion, ethics, all of it.
Pretty much. The mission today is to really get into the core of it. What is true knowledge? Pure devotion, and maybe most practically, what's the real, transcendental meaning behind everyday words? Wealth, strength, happiness. The text defines over 30 of them.
Okay, so we're aiming for the final word on living well and ultimately achieving liberation.
That's the goal. But before we jump into the answers, we need to understand the why. This whole conversation, it has roots in a major crisis, doesn't it?
Yeah, the backstory is pretty intense.
Absolutely. The source connects this wisdom back to a really tragic time after the Battle of Kurukshetra. Huge, devastating war.
And King Yudhishthira, the winner, he wasn't exactly celebrating, was he?
No, not at all. He was known as Ajatashatru, one without enemies. But after the war, seeing all the death, friends, family, teachers gone, he was just overwhelmed, distraught.
He'd won the kingdom, but felt like he'd lost everything that mattered, that existential dread.
Exactly. So the text says he went to Bhima, called the foremost among the righteous, asking about the dharma of liberation. What's the ultimate duty to get free from all this suffering?
And now the Supreme Lord is relaying those same teachings to Uddhava.
Yes, but with a twist. He's not just repeating them.
He's upgrading them, right?
Yeah.
Enriching them.
That's the word used at Upabetan. Supported, expanded. He says he's boosting them with 5 key things. Jnana, knowledge, Vaidya, detachment, Vijnana, realization, Shraddha, faith, and Bhakti, devotion.
Wow. So it's taking that original ethical blueprint and just supercharging it with spiritual power.
You could say that. Making it directly about liberation. It sets a really high bar for what we're about to explore.
Okay, powerful stuff. Let's get into part 1 then. The wise person, the jnani, and why knowledge is considered so primary. How does the text define this wise person? It sounds pretty strict.
It is. Verse 1 lays it out. First, they need Vidya Shuddha Sampanna, deep learning, Vedic knowledge. Then Atmavan, self-controlled. But the kicker, the really radical part, is Nadamaneka.
Not anumanika. Not merely speculative. That really jumps out. Why knock speculation? We kind of rely on it, don't we? Hypothesis, inference.
Well, from the text perspective, speculation is shaky ground. It's based on, the shifting sands of the material world, what our senses tell us. True wisdom, it argues, needs to be direct, realized, non-inferential.
So what's the bedrock of that wisdom then, if not inference?
The bedrock is realizing Maya Motrim Idam, this whole world, this entire experience, is fundamentally illusion, Maya.
Okay, whoa. If the wise person figures out it's all illusion, what do they do with that? That sounds kind of world-shattering.
The instruction is sanyasit. Surrender it. Give that knowledge back to the source, the supreme. Wisdom isn't about collecting facts for yourself. It's about recognizing the ultimate reality and aligning with it, offering the understanding back.
So by doing that, the supreme becomes their entire reality, their focus.
Exactly. The text says the supreme becomes their the beloved, swartha, the ultimate goal, hitu iska, the ultimate cause, everything.
What about other goals, like going to heaven or liberation itself?
The text is crystal clear. Svarga kaiva bargeshke, heaven, liberation, it's all contained within the supreme. There's literally no other purpose that matters to the wise person. They're totally centered.
And this makes them priyatama, most dear to the supreme. That's incredibly intimate language for philosophy. Why so dear?
Because of what they do. The source says, janana sel biparti mam, through their knowledge, they actually uphold or sustain the supreme reality in the world. It's like by getting it, by realizing it, they become a living pillar of that truth.
Okay, now we hit a part that feels, well, controversial. The text seems to really downplay traditional religious stuff, things we usually think of as good. Austerity, pilgrimage, charity.
It is radical, yeah. It forces a major rethink. Shloka 4 lists them. Tapas, tirthan, japa, danam, all the purifying acts. And it says point blank, nalagravanti. They are not enough. They can't bring the perfection you get from even the Janakalaya, like a tiny fragment of true, realized knowledge.
Stop giving charity. Stop chanting. That feels wrong, doesn't it? Isn't that part of Dharma?
It's not saying stop entirely, I think. It's about understanding their limit. They're preparatory, maybe, secondary. Like if you give a huge donation, but you don't understand the real nature of or the person receiving it, the effect is still temporary, tied to karma.
Ah, okay. But knowledge, that changes the person doing the action.
Exactly. A moment of real insight, real jnana, changes your whole perspective on everything permanently. It makes the limited results of just like an external ritual seem small by comparison. It's saying prioritize the inner shift over the outer show.
Prioritize the root over the leaves. Okay, that makes sense. So let's dig into that root. What exactly is this reality and illusion, this Maya that the wise person gets?
This is key for understanding what's not the self. We see the Trivito Vikaro, right? The three transformations. Creation, maintenance, destruction. Happening constantly to our bodies, our mind.
Things are always changing. Birth, growth, decay.
Right. And these changes are products of the three modes of nature. Goodness, passion, ignorance. Now, the crucial point is, these transformations look like they're happening to the real self, the spirit. But the text says they're actually contained within Maya. They're external to who we really are.
They're part of the illusion. And the text has this really simple logic for why the body itself is unreal. What's that?
It's devastatingly simple, isn't it? The ultimate reality test. Does it last? The body wasn't here before birth. It won't be here after death.
So if it's only here temporarily,
then its existence now is also fundamentally unreal. It's an illusion of stability. The constant change proves it's not the sat, the eternal reality.
So if the body is the illusion, the temporary shell, what's Uddhava supposed to do with this knowledge?
Use it. Use it to know his real self, swatmanam. Get endowed with both jhana knowledge and vijnana realization. But this is critical. The next instruction is Bhakti-Yoga. Worship the Supreme with devotion.
Ah, so knowledge isn't the end point. It immediately leads back to action, to devotion.
They're not separate steps, you see. They're simultaneous. You understand reality, and so you act in alignment with it. That alignment is devotion.
Okay, let's nail down these two key terms then. Jhana and vijnana. Knowledge and realization. The text uses some technical language here. 9, 11, 5, 3 principles.
Yeah, it sounds like jargon, but let's break it down. Jnana is defined as the intellectual grasp of the universe's structure within living beings. Those numbers refer to the components.
What are they, quickly?
Okay, the 9 are nature's elements. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, plus time, direction, mind, and the self. The 11 are the 10 senses plus the mind again. The 5 are the sense objects sound, touch, form, taste, smell. And the 3.
The modes. Goodness, passion, ignorance.
Exactly. So jhana is knowing that structure, understanding intellectually how existence is built. It's like having the cosmic blueprint.
Memorizing the blueprint. Got it. The text even says if you fully grasp just one of these, that counts.
Yeah, it's like if you truly deeply understand the nature of the modes, for instance, that gives you the key to the whole system. That's definitive knowledge.
Okay, so that's jhana, the theory. What about vijnana, realization? How's that different?
Vijnana is seeing it in action. It's experiential. If John is the map, Vijnana is driving the car. The text defines it as perceiving the full cycle creation, maintenance, destruction, shet utpadhyapyan of everything made of those three modes.
So someone with jnana knows the body is temporary, but someone with vijnana, they actually see it happening, moment by moment, the constant change, the creation and destruction.
Precisely. They don't just know the body is a sat, unreal. They observe its unreality playing out constantly. And seeing that dynamic flux makes them realize what isn't changing, what's behind it all.
The eternal sat, the reality.
Yes, that which exists before, during, and after everything else. That which remains when the whole cosmos dissolves. Tatyeva sat, that alone is real. Everything else is just shifting energy.
This level of certainty leads the text to critique. Well, basically all the ways we normally try to prove things. The four pramatas.
Right, this section really undermines our usual ways of knowing. It lists the four. Shruti, hearing from authority, like Vedas. Pratyakam, direct perception, our senses. Itiham, tradition, history. And Anumanam, inference, logic.
We use these for everything. Science, law, daily life. Why does the wise person detach from them?
Because they're flawed. The text points out two big problems. Anavastanat inconsistency, they lack a stable foundation. And Vyakopat, they lead to different interpretations, contradictions.
Okay, give me an example. Direct perception, pratyakam.
Our senses fool us all the time, right? Optical illusions. Thinking something slow is static. Our hearing range is limited. What we perceive depends on our mood, our health, our biases. It's not objective.
True. So if perception fails, I use logic and imanam. That fails too.
Well, your logic is only as solid as your starting point, your premises. If those are based on faulty perception or shaky tradition, your conclusion will be shaky too.
And if I rely on scriptures, Ruthi, or tradition, aitiham.
Then you hit Vikalpad, different interpretations. Different schools argue endlessly about what the same text means. The foundation isn't solid. There's disagreement.
So because our tools for judging reality are inherently wobbly, any conclusions we draw about this temporary world are also temporary.
That's the takeaway. The wise person sees that everything driven by action, by karma, is perishable. Padimithpat. It's all subject to change. Therefore, it's ultimately amagalam, inauspicious, temporary.
And this applies to everything.
Everything. Ovirinikat, from the highest god Brahma down to the smallest microbe. All achievements, all heavenly realms, all material stuff, it's all temporary. So the wise person just sees it that way. That was knowing it's transient, even the things they haven't personally seen end yet. The goal here is unshadable focus on the sat, the only constant.
Wow. That sets an incredibly high standard for knowledge. It's almost purely intellectual in a way. But now the focus shifts completely, doesn't it? Part 2. Bhakti-Yoga, the path of devotion. And it starts with emotion, with Uddhava's plea.
Yeah, the transition is beautiful. Because, high philosophy is great, but it doesn't always soothe the immediate pain. Uddhava brings it right down to earth. He talks about the living beings suffering on the path of worldly life, Bhavatvani.
Suffering from the Tapatreya, the three miseries. Can you remind us what those are?
Sure. Miseries caused by your own body and mind, like illness or anxiety. Miseries caused by other beings, like conflict or pests. And miseries from natural forces, heat, cold, floods, earthquakes.
The inescapable suffering of existence.
Right. And Uddhava uses this vivid image. The living being is dice-bitten, bitten by the serpent of time, Kalahina, fallen into a dark pit. Time's venom is constantly working on us.
And the tragedy is, even while dying from this bite, we're chasing the wrong cure. Thirsty for, what was it?
Todra sukurutaram, a huge burning thirst for tiny, petty pleasures. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? Bitten by time, dying, but desperately grabbing for sips of dirty water. It shows how futile worldly pursuits are without a real shelter.
And Uddhava sees only one shelter. Dhananyak Sharancham, the Lord's feet. He calls them Atapatrad Andapivarayad, like an umbrella showering nectar. Just beautiful. He's begging for help.
It's that point where philosophy meets raw need. The Lord responds, okay, I'll describe Bhakti-Yoga. He calls it the Karante Param, the supreme cause of devotion. This is the practical path. This is how you apply that non-speculative knowledge from part 1.
Okay, let's unpack the details of Bhakti-Yoga, the practices, the duties. It sounds pretty comprehensive.
It is. It starts with Shraddha, faith. Faith in the Lord's stories, which are called nectar-like Amantakatayam. That anchors you. Then comes the action. Shravan Madanukirtanam, constantly chanting or talking about the glories. And Parinya, real dedication and worship, offering hymns, prayers.
So it redirects your hearing and speaking away from, worldly gossip towards the divine.
Exactly. Then there are the behaviors. Shloka 21 is fascinating, how you treat others, especially other devotees.
What does it say?
Respect, adhara, in service, offering full obeisances. But here's the really striking part. Mad Bhakta Pujadika. Worship of the Lord's devotee is considered greater than worship of the Lord himself.
Whoa! Worship the servant more than the master. Why? That sounds backward.
It's the ultimate test of seeing the divine everywhere, isn't it? Sarvabhute Maimatya, seeing the supreme in all beings. If you really get that, then honoring the person who embodies that devotion, who makes it real and tangible, that's recognizing the Lord in action. It stops devotion being just some abstract idea about a faraway God.
Makes it real, relational. Okay. And this path seems to demand, well, everything, your whole life.
Total dedication, no compartmentalizing. Your body's actions are for service. Your words, vakasa, are for glorification. Your mind, manasa, has to be offered completely. And that means, this is the tough part, sarva kama vivarjanam, renouncing all material desires.
That's the big ask. Giving up all your personal stuff, your goals for wealth or pleasure.
Yep. Shloka 23 spells it out. Wealth, artha. Enjoyment, bhoga. Material happiness, sukha. You renounce it all mad arth for the supreme's sake. Any religious acts you do, charity, austerity, vows you do them for him. Your whole life becomes an offering.
And the payoff for that total surrender for the Atmanivedinam.
The text promises me sanyayate bhaktya. Devotion just arises, naturally, automatically. And once that pure devotion is there, the text asks rhetorically, kunyo dashivaishyate. What other purpose could possibly be left?
And nothing. You've reached the goal. The endless chase for those petty pleasures is finally over.
Exactly.
Fulfillment.
Now, connecting this back to the mind and the modes of nature from part 1, the text links your inner state to what you actually achieve spiritually.
Right. It shows how it all works together. When your mind, your satam, is peaceful, shantan, and boosted by goodness, sattva-patende, and you offer it to the self or the supreme, 4 things automatically happen.
What are they? Dharma, virtue, jnana, knowledge, vairāgyam, detachment, and aishvaryam, spiritual opulence, like mystic powers. They just manifest when the mind is aligned with goodness.
And the opposite happens if the mind is out of control.
Perfectly put. If the mind is chasing sense objects, caught up in duality, vikalpe, agitated by passion, rajasvala, unsteady, saimya, that whole state is called viparyam, illusion, the reversed state. Your spiritual success depends directly on your mental peace and quality.
Before we hit the big list of definitions, the Lord quickly redefines those 4 attainments, dharma, jnana, vairagya, aishvarya, specifically in the context of bhakti. It's a nice summary.
It is. It frames them differently. Dharma becomes that which produces devotion to mass, madhvatika. Jnana isn't just cosmic math anymore. It's the direct vision of oneness. Ikatmiya jnana. Vairagya, renunciation, is simply detachment from the modes, bhuktavasagya, not necessarily harsh physical stuff. And aishvarya, opulence. That refers to the siddhis, the mystic perfections, like becoming tiny.
Okay, perfect setup for part 3. Uddhava has basically absorbed all this high philosophy, the path of devotion, and now he comes back with this huge list.
Right.
Like, okay, I get the principles, but can you define these 30-plus specific terms for me? This is where it gets super practical.
It really does. It's like a spiritual diagnostic tool. Let's start with the basics. Yama and yama. Restraints and observances, 12 of each. Very specific.
Okay, the 12 yamas first, the don'ts, the restraints.
They start predictably. Ahimsa, nonviolence. Satyam, truthfulness. Astyam, non-stealing. Standard ethics. But then they get more internal, more psychological.
Like what?
Asaga, detachment. Modesty, or like shame about doing wrong. Asakaya, non-accumulation, not hoarding stuff.
Yeah, non-accumulation is interesting, and the second half of the yamas feel even more internal.
Definitely. Astikyam, faith in the absolute. Brahmacharyam, celibacy or sense control. Mona, silence, controlling speech. Stagya, steadiness. And finally, virtues for dealing with others. Kaama, forgiveness. And abhayam, fearlessness. It's a full package for inner and outer discipline.
And then the 12 niyamas, the duvals, the positive actions.
Right. Things like shoka, cleanliness, inner and outer. Japa, chanting. Tapa, austerity. Home, sacrifice. Shadhar, faith. Then duties involving others, atitya, hospitality, matarkana, worshiping the supreme, tirthaitana, pilgrimage.
Service seems big here too.
Huge. Pratarthiya, working for others' welfare. 2, contentment, a big one. And Akarya Sevanam, serving the guru. And the promise is, if you practice these 24 principles, you get results yatakam according to your desire. They cover all bases.
Okay, let's move into some key psychological states. Control of the mind, Shama. How's that defined?
Simply fixing the intelligence on the Supreme. Matnihata Buddhu, total focus. Dhamma, sense control, is just that reigning in the senses. Titika, tolerance, enduring suffering without losing it. Dahasa Maron.
And the steadiness. The definition is very pointed.
It really is. Jivopastaya. Conquering the tongue and the genitals. It identifies those two drives as major sources of instability. Master them, and you have steadiness.
Now, these next two, charity and heroism, the definitions completely flip the script. Supreme charity, partam dano, isn't giving stuff away.
Nope, it's dachinyasa. Renouncing the use of punishment. Imagine, the highest act of charity is non-aggression, refusing to retaliate or punish. It's ultimate forgiveness.
Especially coming from a source advising rulers.
Okay.
And heroism, not battlefield glory.
Not at all. It's Phobhava Vijay, conquering your own nature, your conditioning, your base instincts. That's the real battle. The text says, win that, and you're the ultimate hero.
Amazing. The text also distinguishes two kinds of truth, satya and ta.
Yeah, Satya is defined as Samarashanam, equal vision, seeing everyone and everything equally, without bias. True impartiality.
And
That's more like propriety, or truth in action. Defined as soon as figured truthful speech that is also sweet and kind, plus truthful conduct. It's truth delivered with grace. Oh, and tapa, austerity, defined simply as kamachiga, renunciation of lust or desire. Forget harsh physical stuff. Conquering desire is the austerity.
Okay, let's shift to how it redefines success and value. What's real wealth, Dana?
Dharma is the true wealth. Simple as that. Virtue is your real asset. And the supreme sacrifice, yajan, the Lord says, that's me. And the best offering, Dhamma.
Not gold, I'm guessing.
Jnana Sandeshas, imparting knowledge. Teaching spiritual truth is the highest gift you could give. It completely changes the teacher's role.
Okay. And supreme strength, Balam. Surely that's physical power.
You'd think. But no. It's prajna, breath control. Mastering your life force, your internal energy that's defined as the ultimate strength. Way beyond muscles or armies.
And the supreme gain, Labha. What's the bhest thing you can get in life?
Madhvaktir Uttama, supreme devotion to me. That's the ultimate profit.
Knowledge, Vidya, gets defined again here too.
Yes, specifically as Vidabhato, the destruction of the sense of duality or separation within the self. Seeing the oneness.
And modesty. It's not just being shy.
No, it's jigupsa karmasu, disgust towards sinful or improper actions. A genuine internal revulsion. And shru, real beauty, real opulence. Starts with narabika detachment, virtue rooted in non-dependence.
Then we get to happiness and suffering. Sukha, happiness is...
Sukhatya, transcending both pleasure and pain. Finding that state beyond the pendulum swing, that's real, stable happiness.
Which makes the definition of suffering, Duha, totally clear.
Exactly. Suffering is kamsukakat, the expectation of sensual enjoyment. Just wanting temporary pleasure is defined as the root of pain because it inevitably leads to loss, disappointment, addiction. If you chase worldly pleasure, you're actually signing up for suffering.
Wow. Okay, let's wrap up this amazing list. The wise versus the fool. The Pakta, the wise one.
Knows bondage and liberation. Bandha Mukhavit, that's the key knowledge.
And the Murkha, the fool.
Defined by one single mistake. Dahadiya Hayabuddhe. Identifying with the body and mind, thinking I am this body. That one error is the source of foolishness.
Where do we find the right path, Pantha, and the wrong path of Pakta?
The right path, Pantha, is Matnigama, the Supreme Lord's own scripture or teachings. The wrong path, Upatai, isn't a physical road, it's internal. Sitavikapai. Mental distraction. Getting sidetracked in your own head.
So heaven and hell are internal states too, not just places.
That's how they're defined here. Svarga, heaven, is a sattva-gudaya, the predominance of the mode of goodness in your consciousness. When goodness rises, life feels heavenly. And Naraka, hell. It's Damat Unnaha, ignorance and arrogance, an internal state of darkness and ego.
So people trying to navigate the world, who's our true relative, Bantha, and what's our real homika?
The true relative, the Bantu, is the guru, the spiritual guide. And the Lord says, I am the guru. The real family isn't blood, it's the shared quest for truth. The guru is the one person totally invested in your liberation.
Not just your temporary comfort.
Okay.
And our home.
The Gahan is the body, Sharita, specifically the human body, manuya. This human life is our current residence, the place designed for spiritual work. It's the perfect house, the tool given to us for realization.
And finally, the ultimate status symbols get redefined. The truly wealthy person, Ashya,
Is gucha, one who is rich in virtues.
and the poor person, Daritra.
Is a santatu, simply one who is dissatisfied. Poverty is lack of contentment no matter how much money you have.
And the miser, Kapat, not someone hoarding gold.
No, it's a jitendriya, someone who cannot control their senses. Being unable to control your own appetites, that's true miserliness, withholding your own potential.
And the true master, the real controller, is Shah.
Is Gijava Asaktati, one whose intelligence is detached from the modes of nature. Real mastery is detachment. And the opposite, Viparaya, which means bondage. That's simply Gusage attachment to the modes.
It's just an incredible list. The synthesis is so powerful. Wealth is virtue, strength is breath control, happiness is transcendence. It shifts everything inward.
Completely reframes it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You don't need to get anything external. You need to realign your internal state, your consciousness.
But the Lord doesn't stop there. He lands the final point, the ultimate verdict, in Shloka 45. It ties everything together, knowledge, devotion, all these definitions. He says the real fault, the do, is seeing good and bad as separate things. Get duzer duno.
That's the mic drop. The fundamental error, the text says, is getting caught up in judging the world through the lens of duality. This is good, this is bad, based on the temporary modes. That very act of judging is the flaw that keeps you trapped in Maya.
So if I spend my life trying to maximize the good stuff and minimize the bad stuff according to these temporary modes, I'm still playing the game, still stuck.
You're still stuck in the framework. The ultimate goal isn't just to be good in that material sense. It's to get free from the whole dualistic system. That's why true virtue, Gukha, gets this final stunning definition, Upaya Varjita.
Freedom from both good and bad qualities, transcending duality altogether.
Exactly. Rising above the whole system of judgment based on the modes.
That's a profoundly liberating way to conclude this whole ethical and spiritual system. It shifts the focus from constantly judging outcomes to transforming our inner perception. Which leaves us with this final thought. If our ultimate goal is to transcend seeing things as good or bad because that perception itself is the fault, how does that radically change how we approach morality, ethics, decision-making in our everyday lives? What does it actually mean to act purely beyond that dualistic assessment? That's something to really chew on.